You're only the second podcast, by the way, mate. So
no pressure. So,
but I really enjoyed the first one. I spoke to a lovely lady in Recon. She was near Recon, and
oh,
she
nice.
she was like, it was really sunny. She was a bikini. You know, an iguana was walking past the screen and stuff. So, come on, where's the animals? Where's the back?
I've got me blanket. Is that any good?
Hey! A man after my own heart. Okay, so one thing I really want to talk about, I watched it yesterday, was the Inca Trail Porter project. It looked absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit about that. What was the reason behind it? What did you get from it? Was it a sort of a spiritual journey, or the physical challenge, or a little bit of both? I noticed that they called you Phantasma by the end. Was that so? The actually Incas themselves, or I don't know what you call them, porters? No,
they're porters. So the Inca is just Inca. There's only one Inca, and that's the king. So that's the Inca Trail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the Inca Trail is 26 kilometers from kilometer 82 to Machu Picchu. It's 26 kilometers high up in the Andes. But the Inca, it was just one Inca, and the tribe really is called the Quechuan tribe. So the porters are all Quechuan. They're all native Peruvians. My missus wanted to do it. My wife, darling wife, wanted to do the Inca Trail, and I had never even heard of the Inca Trail. I was only interested in the sea. Didn't want to go anywhere other than go for a surf. My time off was spent in the sea. So she said to me then, do you fancy doing the Inca Trail? And I said, what's that? And so she showed me, and I was like, oh, 2 weeks of like hiking. I said, like, so she goes, I'll compromise with you. We'll do a week of surfing in Lima, and we'll do a week of hiking. I said, yeah, so I'm in. So we flew to Lima, and we had a week in just south of Lima. I forget the name of the place. In this little, I don't even know what it was, to be honest. It's a little village. But as you walk out, there was a load of breaks. It was probably 100 meters from the sea, just down a cliff face. And so I spent a week surfing there, and she spent a week in her room because she got so scalded on the first day she couldn't go back out in the water or out in the sea or sun. So yeah, that was fun. And then we headed off up to Cusco, and we did the Inca Trail as tourists the first time. And I suppose that kind of inspired me to go back. The reason being was I was just blown away by the level of organization that these guys have to go through in order to get you up to the up to Machu Picchu. And I suppose I felt they were very underappreciated. A couple of things, like you'd be sitting there halfway up, and you'd see a tourist sitting beside a porter who's carrying absolutely everything. And they had little shops along the way as well. And like they're just stalls with water, and you'd see a tourist and they'd be gulping back water, and the guy who's sitting beside them would be sweating bucket loads and not, and I just thought, where's the humanity? Would you not just buy the person a bottle of water? It was €1 or $1 or whatever it was. Support your local economy, but support the dude who's carrying all your crap. Plain and simple, So every time I got to those stops, there'd be a couple of bottles of water bought, and whatever porters were walking by, didn't matter what company they were from, didn't care. They just got a bottle of water. So I started to create a bit of a relationship with the guys that I was walking with. And I didn't really struggle that much, to be honest. I didn't really struggle I struggled, don't get me wrong. When I say I didn't struggle that much, I didn't struggle that much compared to some of the other people in my group when it came to walking. But I did struggle with seeing the treatment that they were getting. I was like, this isn't on. So for the first 2 days, I was kind of blown away by the scenery and away in my own little world. And on the third day, we were sitting at this lunch stop, And I just had to walk around while they were packing up everything, while the guys were packing up everything. And again, go back to the light bulb moment. And it was only then I realized what they were carrying and what they were doing. It was because up to that point, I was so blown away by the scenery and the journey we were on. But they were carrying everything, like massive stove, like, gas bottles, those yellow gas bottles. Someone had to carry one of those. There was the cooker, all the pots and pans, cutlery then for everyone, tables, chairs, tents, sleeping bags, sleeping mats, food, like nothing was left. Napkins, the source water, and then when your daily routine with the guys would be, they would be up before you, they'd wake you in your tent, they'd have a hot cup of tea waiting for you, they'd have a bowl of hot water to wash your face and hands and give yourself a bit of a scrub when you got up in the morning, so you'd wake up nice. You'd go in, table would be all laid out, like being in a 4-star restaurant. Table would all be laid out, and off you went, and they carried everything. So the only thing you had to carry, or you have to carry, depending on how light or heavy you want to go, was rain pants, rain jacket, the snacks that they gave you. So your jacket, your bag, your backpack, your daily backpack was probably about 5 kg, nothing, absolutely nothing. Whereas theirs was 25, 30, depending on what company you went with. Because I've seen guys that were carrying way more than 30 kg. There was one guy, and I'll never forget him. And the backpack he was carrying was huge, but like he was short in stature. Well, when I say he was short, he's probably about my size, about my height, but he was probably my height and width as well. I've never seen a human being, like calves on him, like he was like a little bullock. So that all just kind of made me think, how can you highlight what these guys are doing? And on the journey we were on, the trip I was on, it was an English company we booked with, Exodus, in the UK. And the reason we booked with them was my sister-in-law had been on a cycling trip with them before, and they were very big into sustainable tourism and looking after the people that they employed. So that was one of the main reasons that we booked with them. So I was talking to one of the guys on our trip, was from the BBC. He was working as a reporter. I don't think he was a reporter. I can't remember what he was doing. Remember, he used to say he was in the BBC. And we were chatting over a cup of tea at the very end in what's the Agua Caliente. And I said, I'd love to highlight what to do, or give it a go or whatever. And he was like, do you think could you do it? And I was like, oh yeah, give it a go anyway, And so I just chatted to him one thing or other, and it kind of festered, really did fester in me. And I came home, and about a month after I got home, I sat down with a bottle of wine, and I never sent an email, or I was never one for TripAdvisor or any of that stuff. Just I was always too busy, or I put it off. But I decided I was going to send an email to say thanks. So I sent them an email, and I got talking to Jay Hopkins was her name, and I just said I was blown away, best trip of my life, really ecstatic about it. Would love to go back and highlight what they do. By any chance you could get us, hook us up with some contacts on the other side. And I said I'd love to go back. I said, not looking for much. I'm going to go back, maybe do it as a porter, but I'd need contacts to, how do you do it or whatever else. And she came back to me. She went, that's a fantastic idea. I went, oh shit. So this is kind of got real then. And she came back to me, and how are you thinking of doing it? I was thinking, I'll just go with a GoPro. I'll just go and I'll just video diary, like vlog it or whatever. And she goes, I got to get footage of Peru anyway, so I'm going to send a videographer with you, a really good guy called Ollie Pemberton. And I checked Ollie out, and his work was just, he's fantastic. So she sent me back with him, and when we were going back, he'd been liaising with Gary Cohn, who operates Intrepid in in South America, he's their boss because he was newly appointed into his position, and he wanted to do what I was going to do, because although he was the boss of them, or he wanted them to show that everybody's in this together. So he wanted to go as a porter, but unfortunately for Ali, or for Gary, he broke, I think it was his fibia or his femur, can't remember which. So it ruled him out at the time, and he wouldn't have been able to do it for good on 2 years or whatever until his leg healed up properly. But he organized an awful lot for us on the other side. He organized all the permits. He organized he organizes the porter company that we went with. There was one thing I asked when I went back, was to get the same guys that was with me on the first trip. So we had the same head porter, same guide, didn't have the same assistant guide, different assistant guide this time. Couldn't get Jesus. But majority of the guys in the film are the guys that walked with me on the first time I went. So I had a little bit of a rapport with them. And the big thing we wanted to do from the whole side of it was not to be going, we're here to save the day, or anything. It was literally go over, highlight what these guys are actually doing, show people that how tough it is, and that, show a little bit of appreciation. At the end of the day, they are all farmers. They do this to earn a little bit extra money, and if they didn't do it, guarantee you, nobody else would be doing it. There's no way your ordinary Joe Soap would be carrying all that crap along the Indies. There'd be no tourism, there'd be nothing. So yeah, that's kind of how it all kicked off. When we got there, then Gary had organized the same group. We went up to met them, all the uniform, got the uniforms and the boots and everything else that the guys get. I got to wear it all, and it's good quality stuff. So that was good, and I know that because it's the same stuff that we were wearing the year before, and it is actually comfortable. The boots that they got were comfortable, but I chose to wear my own. Just on the whole thing, I ain't chancing blisters here, but they were actually very comfortable. Bought them home. I used them around the house for years. So yeah, like, their attention to detail is phenomenal. Like, there's nothing left to the imagination. Like, my missus' dietary requirements, they cooked for her and another girl who, she was vegan, I think, and my missus was gluten-free. So they always made sure that they got fed first, and then the rest of us got whoever, So their attention to, like, we were in New York the year before that, you couldn't get gluten-free in New York, like you could get it in the Andes. So yeah.
So what do you think you took away from it after you'd done it all? And what do you feel that was there something that you felt that it changed you, or was there something that you kind of came away thinking differently? Or
when we were there the first time, there was an awful lot of what I seen as abuse. Okay, so on our first, so you've 3 days of, 3 nights of camping. Is it 3 nights of camping? I'm trying to think now. 1, 2, 3 nights of camping, 4 days of walking. And what they give you is you're given 25, or you can give the porters 5 kg, because they have another 15 that they have to carry in equipment. And I remember one girl on our group, and she obviously brought more than she needed, and she wasn't expecting Luis to go around and weigh all the bags. So she took out her extra bits and was thrown in for somebody else to carry. And it was great to see. He picked up the thing and he went, "No, there's too much in that. You have to take out what you have. Don't care what it is." And she argued black and blue with him, going, "No, I didn't." And he said, "No, don't care. Find out, take out whatever, but that has to be under 25 kg." So that was the first thing I was kind of thinking, that's a bit cheeky. Then when it came to, like, at the very end of it, I seen a couple of things along the way, but at the very end of it, you give a tip, And everybody, if everybody gives in whatever it was, I think it was $25 each, it comes up to whatever. But myself and my missus, we threw in extra. We're like, we have it there. Look, go on. What else are we going to spend it on? So we threw in a little extra. My sister-in-law threw in, and her friend threw in a little bit extra. So it should have been bumped up nicely. And it wasn't. It came to the bare amount. So somebody either skimmed or somebody didn't throw in. And that really, really annoyed me. Above anything else, like, you know, the attitude of some people was, what's their job? Oh, they get paid to do this. And you're only going, yeah, but do you not see what they've done for you? Like, some guy is cleaning your toilet. They bring up a toilet tent, and some fella has to carry and clean that. So the way that the porters are brought down is you have the head porter, then you have the chef, sous chef, you have the guy who does all the toilets, or the toilet cleaning and all that. And then you have whatever porters are left needed to carry the rest of the stuff. Now, for one person to do it, it takes 7 porters. For 2 people to do it, it's 8 porters. For 3 people, it's, and so on and so forth. But there's that bare core of people that you need to carry all this equipment. And whether they're getting paid or not, they won't be getting paid massively. So, like, you're going to go into a restaurant and tip, you know, throw a tip here or there, whatever else. Somebody's just after carrying all your stuff, setting up everything that you're in the highest of comfort in the hills of the Andes. $25, $30 isn't going to break the bank. I don't care where you're from. If you've paid whatever you have to get there, the few extra bob, you ain't going to break the bank for you. So that really got me. I won't use the word. Anyway, that just fired me up. And I think that's why I really wanted to highlight what the guys do, because I just think, you know, unless you walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you know, don't be just thinking that they're doing this for money, because I'm sure there are easier ways to make a living. So then when I went back, the level of appreciation I got at the very end of it, but the level of appreciation that guys got more so was, you know, was massive. I made good friends with fellas. It was really nice when I walked around Machu Picchu. Guys, they got a tour at the very end. They had the first porter company to get a tour of Machu Picchu in their native tongue since whenever. Don't think it actually happened before, to be honest. And that was on the back of what we've done. So what they've done since is every porter that worked for Peak South America, Gary has organized that every one of those employees that work on that trail get to see Machu Picchu. Like, the way they work was that they would walk for the 4 days, but they would never see Machu Picchu. They would always, on the last lunch break, head off down towards Agua Caliente, get the train back. So they used to walk in by the site, and where you get the famous pictures of everybody standing in front of the site. You can walk by that when you come in from the trail. They used to walk by that, but what the government figured out was, because there was so many people going through it, they wanted to cut down on the numbers of people going through it so it'd last longer. So they stopped the porters. The easiest thing was to stop the porters going through. So these guys were working for, like, you can imagine working at Stonehenge and never getting to see it. Like, that's pretty much what they were doing. So my faith in humanity, in the sense of what we set and others started to follow, and giving back to these guys that give so much for tourism in Peru, that really kind of, that was the feel good moment for me, I suppose. That was good. That was good.